Okay, no, seriously, I mean, we're already late and I don't like, going into 8 p.m. tonight. So we have a very important part now. We have presentations from pilot sites. This is very exciting. I will do the first 5, I guess, and Giovanni will do the next 6. So we have decided not to allow questions, but allow at the end a discussion so that then you can ask questions for any pilot site. So we need to move. I'm going to keep time and give
yes, I'm very good at short presentation.
Time, so please do your best. We want to learn about the pilot sites, but we need to give time for everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. The first one is Abe Wu from the Center of Marine and Coastal Studies, University Sense, Malaysia.
Thank you, Willie. As I said, I'm very good at making very short presentation. This presentation has 11 slides. I will do it in 5 minutes. Let's see how we do it. So essentially, this site that we chose, it's I'm just going to bring you on a holiday without taking a flight to Malaysia. So not going to blow up Southeast Asia. Probably you know. This is Penang. Only one person here has been, so I can say anything I like, essentially. So it's an island, actually, in the northern peninsula of Malaysia, situated in the Straits of Malacca. Very interesting place, Straits of Malacca. It's a lot of stories to tell. So that's Penang Island itself. If you look at what is interesting is the concentration of population is at this point. Therefore, we concentrated our sort of pilot site in this area due to a few reasons, which I will tell you a little bit. This is how it looks like. It hosts about 50,000 people in a very small area. It's very dense. If you can see, populations are invading more and more towards the coastal area. So there are a lot of risks. But we would like to also look at the pilot site. How do we then use the pilot site to be useful for town planning, for people that is living in that area? But amongst this harsh condition, highly urbanized area, but you still see pristine kind of area under the sea, actually. So this is one of the largest seagrass area in Straits of Malacca. The remaining one, actually, in the northern part of Straits of Malacca, which is situated, I will show you where is it. This is how it looks like. You only can see this about 4 months in a year or at extreme low tides. So there's not much of in-situ survey that we can do, but every single time the tide is good enough, we will be on site to do such a survey. So this is how it looks like. This is Georgetown, where I tell you this is the highly urbanized area. Major port here, 2 big, not so big river, 2 major rivers from, you can see the smaller one here and here. Highly polluted, bringing a lot of pollutants into the channel. But you can see, actually, this is just to show you the amount of people staying, how dense they are. But this is where the seagrass area is still resilient. It has been there for the past 120 years, as we recorded before. In the map of 120 years ago, it's already been recorded. But until today, despite all kinds of pressures, they are still there. So we have been taking long-term, especially on biodiversity, because our team is biological oceanography. So there is a long-term 40 years of continuous data on the biodiversity change, as well as seagrass coverage change. So as I said, Straits of Malacca is very interesting because it's very turbid. Highly, turbidity makes a lot of observation difficult, especially when we have aerial surveys and remote sensing. Part of it, I am quite excited these 3 days talking about remote sensing, because many parts of the coastal area you might be able to see very clearly. But when it comes to Straits of Malacca, everything is just brown. Nothing more than 10 meters can be seen, even on aerial photography. So that is one of our challenge in this part of the world. That is why we always do in situ, but in any time there is a low tide, we will be on the site to look at it. Some of the changes that you can see, the seagrass area is not, this is just part of the paper, it is not stagnant. It keeps on changing and it keeps on moving around, trying to adapt to different pollutants and different stresses that come to the area. So a very long-term kind of scale on in situ data, but we're trying to look at a bigger scale. How does this area then change in the future, more harsh, more stresses as when climate change and more other pressures that are going to go into this city, how is then going to affect our urbanized area and so on. So that's it, 11 slides. Thank you.
To say that Abe is co-chair for our ECOP, the Cost Predict ECOP, and I'm sure he will join me to invite you. All of you are welcome to the ECOP event starting tomorrow afternoon and going through Capo Friday. So, so please look at the agenda. There's a lot of very interesting presentations and so on. And we need to support our ECOPs. Thank you, Abe. Okay, so we're moving to Thailand. This is really, as Abe said, a nice way to travel. Anukul Burana Prathepra from the Department of Aquatic Science at the Burabha University. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you so much, and I'm so excited to be here. Just let's move from Malaysia to Thailand, 1.5 hour flight to Bangkok. My place is located in the Upper Gulf of Thailand, so I'm talking about the background of the Upper Gulf of Thailand and the problem we are facing. So the Upper Gulf of Thailand is quite shallow. The dimension is 100 kilometer wide. The average depth is just 40 meters. Yeah, this one receives a lot of fresh water from major river. The largest one is the Chao Phraya River. Yeah, that run through Bangkok. There is also important for habitats like coral reef and mangroves. Not so much seagrasses in this area because it's very turbid area. Yeah, seagrass we also have in Thailand, but further far away from this area. Yeah, it's important for fishing grounds. Yeah, it's also important for this. The right-hand side, we call it shot mackerel, so popular in Thailand. And yeah, surrounding the Upper Gulf, we have lots of mussel cultures in this area. And I'm curious about it can generate problem because it can reduce the water circulation and make accumulation of some organic matter in that. And oyster culture also important, is very popular as well. Blood clam, yeah, this one, it's very difficult to culture this time. I don't know why, because of maybe polluted water or sediments and also climate change, increasing temperature or not. It's become very expensive. Still tasty. You come to Thailand. And yes, because it's very, very productive. Sometimes we have broody whale come to this area and very popular for tourists to go out, not just for sightseeing, swimming. If you know, my place is located near Pattaya Beach. It's a very popular one. Some of you may know, right? Thailand, you need to go to Pattaya and maybe Phuket, Samui or Chiang Mai. Please remember these words when one day you go there. Yeah, the eutrophication becomes a serious problem, and we have hypoxic water development, very strong one. We know seasonal variation is both east and west phytoplankton bloom due to the monsoonal winds. The southwest move to the east, the northeast wind move to the west. Our previous, the dominant phytoplankton is green noctiluca. The color is dark green, you can see it like this. In 2023, we have a very strong bloom like that. It's one of my students collecting the sample for analysis. And the increasing of bloom is higher and higher. And yeah, we can see the increasing trend, and noctiluca, the blue one, yeah. And the seasonal variation, we can see the strong bloom occurred in August. And we have done survey in 2014 and 2015 and found huge hypoxic water development, especially when the season changed from the southwest to the northeast monsoon, the transition period. It's the first time we found this. And due to strong stratification and high nutrient load at that time, yes, can generate mortality like this. In the east near my place during the southwest monsoon. And when it moves to the west, the hypoxic water become larger and can generate like shellfish mortality like this as well. So the most impact nutrient load come from Chao Phraya River. It's located in the middle of the Upper Gulf of Thailand. And we do observations like spectral analysis to develop local algorithm to apply with remote sensing data. Like this. Strong bloom in 2073, really, really strong. Never before. We can detect it from satellite data. Pulse color can show you clearly the strong bloom hit the shoreline. Yeah, like this. It can move very far to Pattaya Beach and very popular tourist areas. And yeah, I have done some works on like biogeochemicals analysis and found that the nutrient limitation is nitrogen. So this is what we are working now to find out how nitrogen input, maybe from atmosphere or maybe groundwater, can stimulate the phytoplankton boom in some year and can maybe important to our interannual variation of the blooming. This one show you the trichodesmium. We are so curious that it can fix nitrogen and increase nitrogen, active nitrogen in water column. So we need integrations, the observation, numerical models, so remote sensing data, all combined together to understand the mechanism and for prediction in the future. I think time is limited. I can stop now. Actually, I have another story, but I think it will take more time. Not so good. Coastal erosion, just go quick. We have the same problem like land use changes from mangrove area to aquaculture. So you can see the protection by community-based. They use bamboo to protect the shoreline like this and increase the sedimentation and do the plantation of mangrove like this. Some areas very successful. Yeah. But in the future, I think this method we cannot solve the problem in the future because you see in 2050, the water level increase like this, so it will flood over Bangkok. So we have to do something stronger than what we have done now. Okay. That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. So we're moving now towards the other side of the world, Caribbean, Trinidad and Tobago. Nikia Goodin from the Institute of Marine Affairs.
All right. All right, so yeah, we're now with Trinidad and Tobago. And just a bit of a background on the Institute of Marine Affairs. So we do coastal and marine environmental research towards policy formulation and decision making for the government. It is a state agency. I work under the Geomatics Research Program. And Trinidad and Tobago. So we here we go. Yeah, got it. Thank you. Sorry. Yeah, we're in the Southern Caribbean, and as you can see, we're in a very unique position just north of the Southern American continent. And because of that, we have a lot of different influences. So we are regularly influenced by outflows from the Orinoco and the Amazon River. We have a combined a combined total coastline of over 700 kilometers. And that's because Trinidad itself has about 4,800 square kilometers in area, and Tobago has about 300 square kilometers in area. But our coast is actually, and when I mean coast, so from our coast to our archipelagic waters, territorial sea, and EEZ, it gives a combined area of over 77,500 square kilometers. So because of that, our marine space is particularly important. The proposed site is in our Gulf of Paria, which is one of our more vulnerable coasts. It is the west coast of Trinidad, and it accounts for an area that is about over 3,000 square kilometers of our territorial sea, so quite a substantial amount. And the border of our EEZ here is shared, and so the equivalent of the Venezuelan Gulf of Paria is on the left side of our EEZ. And we are working on right now developing a marine spatial plan for the area, as well as to address any kind of sensitive transboundary issues with the Venezuelan government as well. There are regular activities and conflict for activities in the area. A lot of our road infrastructure exists along this coastline, as well as industrial estates exist along this coastline. So it's particularly vulnerable for a number of activities. These were some of the focus areas that we would have highlighted during the survey. And in particular, I want to highlight the first and the third focus areas, because it feeds directly into what we are proposing to do for this pilot site. In terms of, we want to leverage the existing integrated coastal zone management policy framework that exists, because this is our strategic objectives in terms of helping to manage our coastal zone in a very sustainable way. So we're hoping to leverage that policy framework towards coastal vulnerability, so centered around climate change impacts, ocean literacy, cultivation and fertilization, and improved and empowered coastal resource-dependent livelihoods. So using the ICZM as like that policy framework to enable these activities, we're then able to really focus on not only trying to empower and sustain economic activity in the coastal zone, but also having that ecological and that environmental preservation and conservation focus. So in order to maintain the diversity, health, and the productivity of our coastal and marine processes and ecosystems, and that will be towards the benefit of current and future generations. I think we all recognize that the ocean offers and gives us a lot, and so we also need to take our responsible role in taking care of her. And so it's also important to work through the ICZM policy to rehabilitate damaged and degraded coastal ecosystems and habitats, and establish and effectively manage a system of coastal protected areas. So I was told that I need to highlight some of the local challenges. I did not see this in the past two presentations, so I'm not going to take very long to go over it. It is the last slide. However, despite the challenges that exist, there are a number of creative solutions that can be used to work around these challenges. And so, because we're so aware already of how they exist, we're kind of used to working around them. So it's not necessarily a hindrance, but rather the possibility to overcome and to collaborate towards achieving the objectives of the pilot site. I'm not sure what happened with this character, but it was essentially just highlighting that poor data discoverability and accessibility leads to data silos. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll stop right there. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And now we're staying in the area, going to Mexico. Alessandro Souza from Sinvesta. Thank you.
The Yucatan area. This is one of the four sites that Mexico has. It's two in the Caribbean and two in the Pacific, but Caribbean and both Mexico. As I say, this is a very shallow, large shelf. As I said, we have important things like the western boundary current. We have the trade wind coming here and the karstic area. So we're going to see a bit of the problems. We talk about the Yucatan upwelling and how does that affect and how that kind of climate is not changing. Waffle in the meantime. Well, one of the things that we have is, and that's very important, how the Yucatan current of the Yucatan current behave in that area. So you have your AMOC. How does that work, and how does that affect us? If it gets close to an area and it's strong, you'll have strong upwelling and you have a good productivity. If it separates, it'll have some variability into that, and you have poor years. And you can talk with Gabrielle, who's got a poster a little bit more into detail of how does that happen, or how does that relate to our large-scale variability. But it's one of the things that we want to get there.
Apologies to everyone, but these things happen, so bear with us. It will be fine soon, I trust.
Okay, so that's kind of the thing that I was just talking to you a little bit just now. If you get the Yucatan current kind of closer to the Yucatan shelf, then you'll have the nice upwelling, bringing subsurface Caribbean water coming into the area, and it's rich in nutrients and coming. But when the Yucatan current moves a little bit more closer to Cuba, or it's slower, then you have a downwelling area, and then you won't have that productivity. And this appears to be driven somehow by, or it could be driven by NAO and ENSO kind of relation, which you can have a chat more with Gabrielle over there. From here? Can you change the? Okay, and then we have here a little map of how the area is. And we have like big mangrove locations, which is one of the big things that we have there. We have these lagoon areas, which is quite large. The coast, the actual seaside in Yucatan is a barrier island, or a barrier, as we can continued barriers, which are important. You have a very large city here, which is Merida, and it's about 20 kilometers away, so it's still a coastal city. And this is the safest state in Mexico at the moment. So people has been moving in the last 10, 15 years. They're like no tomorrow. It's full of all sorts of people. We have a lot of Mexican people from this Mexico City, from the northern states, and a lot of Americans come to retire in this area. So it's growing and getting more problem. The other thing that we have here is all this the coastal area. It's growing again, just the coast. There's a different kind of tourism of Cancun, which has hotels, but it's a more kind of condos and private houses. But this has grown also again because of Airbnb. So you have a lot of moving tourism along this area, and you have like warm weather all year round, so you don't have any problem there. You have in this area growing livestock farming. We have very large pork pig farms which are growing, and it's so it's quite bad. We have a reserve here, and we have reserves in the water and inside the sea. So we're getting a lot of anthropogenic problems, and you can see this first one, which you can see. This is the sinkhole ring, and it is like this because that's where the asteroid that ended up with the dinosaurs landed, and with the karstic area, it just made some water springs all along that. In the water, we have a lot of water springs. We have a lot of water coming everywhere. But you have like one of the springs is very typical here, and it's very touristic. Everybody goes and see how the fresh water comes out in there. You can see it from the little boat immediately. But we can see that we have kind of, in this particular case, is not very bad kind of nutrients, but we're getting into a not very good concentrations of nutrients. We're trying to make this in a simple way to transfer it to the people who are just putting a traffic light system in which green is like you have good oxygen, good chlorophyll, but you have too high nitrates. In here that the oxygen is lower and things like that. And if it was red, it will be kind of dangerous. And we haven't, in this particular day, we didn't have it. The other thing, and I was talking this with Nadia, is like, we know that the water is polluted or get some kind of pollution getting there. This is some work done in the lagoons. This is in the west side, which is Celestun. This is the middle side, Chelem. We have here the largest pier in the world, which is functioning as a growing transport industry. And this is Salamandra Bravo. And all these red and yellow areas, this is caffeine. There's only way to have caffeine in the water if you're not a in a coffee producing area. So that's us. Yeah, that has to go through us. So if you have red caffeine and yellow caffeine, you know that that's polluted, and that's coming from the underground water. So it's one of our big problems. We have a growing population, a growing farming area with a hard load of nutrients and pollutants coming through the underground water. It's an important region. Why? Because it has a lot of ecotourism growing. Coming here, we have the big area of whale shark. We have 2 zones with large flamingo areas, which everybody likes to go into mangrove parts. We have a big restoration part for the mangrove and the seagrasses, which are kind of looking into the blue economy and the blue carbon economy. And of course, we have the fishery. The fishery is probably one of the most important in the region. This is figures for 2016. And it comes to the figures of Mexico, about 57 million for that particular area, which is $57 million, which is 38,000 tons of production. Is the 3rd country in the world after China and the entire West Africa. And this is the 2016. I've seen the 2020 numbers, and it's 4 times greater than that. It's $200 million produced that. And if you get these red tides, like I told you earlier, your algal blooms, and you close the fisheries for 150 days, that's going to be bit of a disaster look. And this is where we come. Yeah, you shows this one again. And yes, the wars we had, it was in 2011, 150 days closed. And then 2022, we had the latest one. We had 25 days at the beginning of the octopus season. So it was quite bad. It was quite bad. It had a big economic effect. And it's not only the fishery, it's also like the local tourism, like I said. This is the perceived impact in the fisheries of the 22 harmful algal blooms. This is a map that people were going and asking in the areas of how did they felt. And they feel in the kind of eastern area, and the central area, that they were affected badly and very bad in the red part. And this appears to be an actual harmful algal bloom that it was formed in the middle here. So it's from the underground water instead of the and you can see what happened here. Like Yucatan red tide gets with all the species, and the fishermen and the tourism get affected. So that's one of the ideas.
Thank you so much. And the last for this part of the session is Ghana, and this will be online by Ed Emahu of the University of Ghana. And it's fascinating, like traveling, really. We need to have a fund for GlobalCoast that people can visit from side to side. A travel fund.
Okay. All right, good afternoon from Ghana.
Yes, please go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Yeah, so I'm going to be presenting on improving resilience along Ghana's east coast with mangroves as nature-based solutions. So Ghana's coast is eroding at a very fast rate. On the average, we are experiencing
We've lost your sound. Yeah.
Just wait, don't talk.
here. The issue is,
Oh, okay.
and you can see.
Okay, now you're back.
Yeah, so you can see the ocean hotspots along towards the east coast. This is where it gets severe. So just a few pictures of erosion. We can see that mostly it's destroying the infrastructure, like road, houses have been lost, and other equally important infrastructure. But another challenge is also coastal flooding. Hello?
We hear you. But now,
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please continue. We hear you. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, all right. So we also have flooding problems as well. And in all this, there has been some interventions, but mostly these have been gray infrastructure. So using sea defense structures like building, groins, and revetment, which haven't really solved the problem. It only moves the problem from one area to the other. However, along the East Coast, Ghana also has some good mangrove vegetations, but unfortunately, some of these mangroves have been lost. I would say a huge percentage of these mangroves have been lost as a result of economic pressures. So people are cutting down the mangroves for their sources of livelihood. And so what we believe is that mangroves can actually these vulnerable coasts. However, to be able to do this, we need to address some challenges to nature-based solutions. One of the key challenges is the lack of data and also insufficient communication structures between stakeholders, and also missing pathways to informing decisions with sustained impact. So basically, we are not working together to be able to share and exchange information and data on the use of nature-based solutions to these coastal hazards. What are some of the things that are required for mangroves to be used as nature-based solutions? We have to think what the problems are, first of all. So we need to understand the drivers of mangrove degradation.
Groves as NBS. Just show us the next slide, please. Maybe we can take a look. Or maybe it's frozen. Hello, can you hear us now? You cannot say. Maybe. Oh. Yeah. All right. It's okay. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Okay, I will try. I will try.
Okay, we're gonna start.
Okay, so we start. So Biprenda will is representing the Secretariat of the Pacific Community, and he will present the pilot site for Fiji. So 10 minutes, Biprenda. Thank you. You can start.
All right. Thank you so much. Now we are flying off to Fiji. So at least one person during this week has asked me where Fiji is. So a quick 101 on Fiji. So Fiji is a island nation in the South Pacific, so just east of Australia and north of New Zealand. Around 330 islands, mostly volcanic in nature, but there's low-lying atolls and raised limestone, sand clays as well. Land area of around 18,000 kilometers squared, with over 1.2 million kilometers squares of EEZ. Economy driven by tourism, There's bit of agriculture, especially sugar export. There's also a bit of mining, and manufacturing is also important economic area. What else I need to tell here? I think it's good enough. Fiji is highly vulnerable to a number of coastal hazards. So this is from swells generated in the far South Pacific, and it comes all the way to Fiji. Tropical cyclone is also a big concern in our part of the world. So storm surges and all the other associated hazards with tropical cyclones. Sea level rise and coastal erosion and inundation in some number of communities, and most of our infrastructure are located along the coastal areas. And yesterday we were talking a bit about climate change relocation, and this is just a picture of one of the first communities that was relocated in Fiji due to climate change related issues in 2012. Okay, before I jump into the needs, I just wanted to touch on the existing capacity in Fiji in terms of provision of coastal prediction services. So Fiji has a regional specialized meteorological center, NANDI, which specializes in tropical cyclone warning and advisories for this large area of Southwest Pacific. So from equator to 25 degrees south, from 160 east to 120 degrees west. It's responsible for provision of also international marine weather forecast for this whole region. Fiji or RSMC NANDI is also the WMORA5 WIGOS Center. It's in the process of establishing a regional training center for the Southwest Pacific, WMO regional training, so for meteorological services. And it's also in the process of establishing a regional instrument calibration center. So this is all based out of Fiji. In addition to RSMC related responsibilities, it provides direct national weather and marine forecast for a number of other small island nations in addition to Fiji. In particular, Tuvalu, Kiribati, Niue, Tokelau, and I missed Nauru. So it's 6 countries. It provides national weather forecast and this is in addition to the RSMC related responsibility. So I touched a bit on the WMO Coastal Inundation Forecast Demonstration Project yesterday, and through that project there was a bit of capacity built and in the coastal inundation forecast modeling, which we have for it's not for all the parts of Fiji, but particular section of one of the vulnerable areas of Fiji. We have done a bit of modeling. We also provide, we have capacity and have been providing sub-seasonal to seasonal ocean outlooks for things like, coral bleaching, sea level, fisheries convergence zone, etc. In terms of, ocean, some of the needs. So first of all, ocean observation needs. We there's a great need for high resolution bathymetric at remote sensing data. Most parts of Fiji there's no there's very limited baseline data. We have in terms of other ocean observations, so we have one particular tide gauge in Fiji which with associated lead monitoring stations, so it's quite a robust system. And few additional tide gauges. But apart from that, there's hardly any other ocean observations happening in Fiji. In terms of forecasting services, in addition to the coastal inundation model which was developed for Fiji, for a particular section of Fiji, there's great need for high resolution wave and inundation forecast models for other parts of Fiji. there's also need for, we have done a bit of work on climate change projections through the assistance of, Australian related projects. But this are, quite a cost resolution projections. But, when we talk about adaptation related work, this happens at a very local scale, which needs to be informed by downscale projections, which is, hardly available. Also, multi-hazard early warning system, inclusive of, impact-based forecast, tailoring of services for various applications, these important sectors, tourism, fisheries, etc. Capacity building need. So, though Fiji, is a RSMC, we have built a bit of capacity, land monitoring stations. But when we come to, ocean observations, there's very limited capacity for operation and maintenance of instruments as far as ocean-based equipments are concerned. We also greatly lack, oceanographic capacity. And Fiji, in fact, doesn't have any, dedicated oceanographic. Though it's a RSMC, it doesn't have a dedicated oceanographic position within the service. And there's a need for, capacity building in various areas, including for stakeholders, media, through, various forms. This is my last slide. So there's a need for enhancing RSMC NANDI capacity of RSM NANDI to provide, greater regional services. So when you invest in Fiji, the good thing is you providing, investment for greater region. There's also probably we need to build on the work of the Coastal Inundation Forecast Demonstration WMO project. There should be a strong focus on building local and regional capacity for sustainability of the investments. Thank you.
So we don't get questions. We said you keep it for the discussion if we are able. And then next is David Farrell from Barbados. I hope he's online. Can you share the screen? David, do you hear us? David, do you hear us? Huh? David?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great.
Can you hear me?
So the floor is yours. We're going to share it, or no, I don't know who is sharing. Okay, you are sharing. If you can put it. No, it didn't work. You have on the top left, there is swap the screen.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Try again. Now we don't see
just
anything.
Give me 1 second, please.
Try to share again.
Yes, I will.
No. Yeah. Okay, now we see, but not in presentation mode.
Yes. Just give me 1 second, please.
Yeah. Now, can you, yeah, swap, exact. Fantastic. Great. Go ahead, please.
Okay, thanks. Hi, my name is David Farrell, and I run the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology. Apologies for not being in Italy to present face-to-face. I'll run through a couple of slides, but there's a long slide deck here that people can have that gives a bit more indication of what is available to support this project. So I am part of the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology is part of the Caribbean Meteorological Organization. And so we're the technical side of the Caribbean Meteorological Organization. We are about 40 to 50 people here. More than half of them are science-focused, weather, climate, hydrology, and marine and instruments. And so we bring a range of skill to supporting this initiative as we go forward. There are about 16 member states within the Caribbean Meteorological Organization, and those are shown on the right. And so the pilot sites that we're going to be looking at will be drawn from some of these member states: Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, and I believe Grenada are some of the early candidates for pilot sites, and those are listed here. The functions that we have are particularly CIMH, are listed in yellow on the left-hand side. But it's really to provide technical support in meteorology, hydrology, and associated areas of science, among others. And so we are going to be collaborating on this project more from a regional lens and providing support to persons on the ground in the specific pilot sites. This slide I've put together really talks about the Institute and some of the skill that we bring to the table. So we are, like Fiji, we are a regional training center. We also operate as a research center, a climate data center. And so we've got climate data archived for the last 150 years. We're a regional instrument center as designated by the World Meteorological Organization. And so we have a lot of experience in developing design, procurement, maintenance, and so on, and calibration of weather, climate, and hydrological observation platforms, and more recently, marine platforms. We're a regional climate center, and so we provide a lot of climate products and services across the region and to the region, including marine products and services as well. We are the Caribbean Center for Climate and Environmental Simulations, and so we run weather, climate, and marine models daily across the entire Caribbean sphere, extending from about the mid-Atlantic all the way into the Gulf of Mexico. And so these are run at varying resolutions and for their varying time periods. There are 4 models that we run from a marine perspective: HICOM, Telemac, SWAN, and Wave Watch. And so those can be made available to the pilot sites and so on. We also run weather models daily at high resolution across the region, mostly WRF, but we also have access to other types of atmospheric models. We have a Center for Water Resources, Hydrology, and Geosciences, and Earth Observations. And so we can utilize satellite information, hydrological information, runoff information, etc., to feed into the pilot sites as required. And about 3 years ago, we became a regional marine forecast support center. And so we can provide some marine products and services to the pilot sites as well. And so there are a range of things we can do for the pilot sites. But most importantly, we're an advisor to regional governments on matters related to marine climate, hydrology, and we can add marine sciences now to this list as well. So that gives you a sense of who we are and what we do. The pilot site is just shown here on the bottom right, and it includes at least the pilot region, and so it includes extending from Dominica all the way down to Trinidad and Tobago, but obviously our domain of interest from an organizational point of view extends all the way down to Guyana and all the way west to Belize and all the way north to the Turks and Caicos Islands. In terms of the impacted areas, there are 3 impacted areas that we're going to be supporting in the Eastern Caribbean. Impacts Area 1, which is capacity and disaster risk reduction through real-time forecasting of extreme events, but not limited to sea level, marine heat waves, algal blooms, and so on. We do provide support for quite a bit of this already. So we have the current status, potential national, regional, and international partners have been identified to support work in this impact area. And a lot of them are partners that we already have. I should point out that during tropical storm events and so on, we work with a regional consortium of partners to look at the forecast, developing the forecast and communicating the forecast. And this is also now extending into the marine sphere as well. We've made some progress related to supporting forecasts of extreme events on land and in the marine environment. That's ongoing. Some of this work is supported through climate services and related programs. We are also monitoring coastal and marine impacts as well, and we can provide information on that. And we generally know who the beneficiaries of this information are, and so we can work with pilot sites to extend that to local communities as required. And impacts area 5, improved urban oceanography, science and planning through coastal cities, integrated water management and urban landscape planning. We have done some work in this, and we can provide some level of support in this area, and we can work with partners at the pilot sites chosen for this. Again, we've had some work with regional partners in terms of looking at this. In fact, we're starting to work with the Copernicus, Latin America, and the Caribbean on an initiative that starts to look at urban flooding using satellite products and so on, and doing some modeling of this so we can start looking at early warning systems related to this. We have also been looking at the whole area of inundation into urban areas and from storm surge. And I know that there's been some work done on tsunami inundation modeling has also been done in these areas. There's some work on nature-based solutions for urban areas that is being explored in various countries. And so that's something that we don't have a lot of experience with, and is something that we can work on with the different countries based on some of the work that we've done in different areas. And again, we generally have an idea who the beneficiaries are at the kind of almost at the macro scale, but as you drill down to community level, that's one of the areas that we'll have to work with persons at the pilot sites to help support as well. And the last area, which is improvement in coastal zone management and marine spatial planning. There's been some work that has also been started in there with regional partners. We've had at least one regional workshop, maybe more at the national level, with regards to looking at this particular area of marine spatial planning. But there are a number of reports out there and bits of work being done in different parts of the Caribbean on marine spatial planning, and these can also be exploited in terms of moving this particular agenda item forward. If someone will just say, David, it's 10 minutes, you have to stop, just let me know, please. Some of the areas of needs for the pilot sites, obviously, capacity development and technology investments will be needed, especially if you're going to sustain this type of work. One of the challenges that we've had in the region is we start initiatives, but we don't sustain the activities. And I would like to see that sustainability becomes a key thing in the establishment of the pilot sites and the expansion of pilot sites to other areas. And so areas of data collection and processing, multi-stakeholder mapping and engagement, cost-effective and efficient management of site monitoring and observation systems, specific site model development, calibration, and verification. These are areas that I think that we need to look at, as well as integration of model and data products into relevant early warning systems and decision support systems. And I think, like Fiji, these are areas that we will need to look at and make sure that we address. In terms of data collection, we probably need to expand the data collection systems in the region, especially in the area of the marine space. We have very few marine data collection systems in the area. And so that's one of the areas that we've started to look at in terms of looking at purchasing a number of buoys to help with marine data collection. But we've got some coastal tide gauges, just like Fiji, in the region that we can utilize, and we've got coral reef platforms and so on that we can utilize. But again, you have to look at sustainable data management as being something that's critical, make the necessary investments as required. This will require that we visit policies in terms of data management and data acquisition and start talking about open data policies as we move forward. Site management is another area that I think that if we're going to succeed at this, we have to really have a good site management and governance plan in place, and that will require some effort to build that out and to really operationalize it as we go forward.
David, could you come to the conclusion? Because we
I
have
think
10
I'll just
minutes.
leave that as a conclusion.
Thank you.
And just talk about and just show that there are a number of different products, platforms, and so on that are operational in the region that can be taken advantage of.
Thank you, David.
No problem.
Thank you so much. Very interesting. And I'm sure we will collaborate a lot together. So next is the pilot site. We cross the Atlantic, is Nigeria, and Dominic Teril is going to present. Dominic, do you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Hello?
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Hi, Dominic. Nice to see you.
Thank you, everybody.
Do you want to share your screen?
Oh, please, can they help me?
Okay. We are going to share the screen.
Yes.
Who's sharing?
Very good.
Okay, so please, go ahead. You have 10 minutes.
Thank you very much for Nigeria presentation on coastal prediction of Lagos, Nigeria, under the headings of the challenges, needs, and existing capacity. Next. Yes, these are the challenges. The challenges are especially in Nigeria and the Lagos, which lies in the Gulf of Guinea, has a lot of activities, economic benefits, negative effects, and also some positive effects. In the Gulf of Guinea, in Lagos State, the pilot site, we had a lot of challenges, such as coastal erosion and sea level rise. And we have issues of pollution and land use. There have been a lot of pollution that people do go and dump at the coastal region. That is, they do go and dump at the sea level, and it's really very difficult now trying to at least mitigate such effects that we stop people, the use of the biomaterials such as polyethylene and the rest of it that cannot even dissolve. And then for this, you understand that if the deposit of this pollutant are much in the water, it creates unnecessary sea level rise, bringing a lot of things. And after that, it will accompany with flooding and erosion. However, they are limited predictive model in order to determine how amounts of this pollutant that had been emitted in the water by human and also natural process. And the other challenges include we don't have this model capacity, especially as a developing country. In Nigeria, we don't have model capacity. We have limited predictive model in order to capture the amount of what's not supposed to go in the water, and also to predict and forecast what will happen, especially in terms of flooding, in terms of erosion, in terms of heat waves, and also the amount of contamination that is within this water. Please, next. And then there are very needs. There are needs in order to bring this challenge forward and address it. One is to expand the network of weather, oceanography, and the hydrological station along the coast of Lagos, that is in Nigeria, to improve data accuracy and timeliness. And this will help in order to access and know the risks that we follow, and also to produce early warning system so that necessary measures will be taken. Also conducting outreach to ensure the coastal population understand the risks that is associated with climate change and coastal hazard and how to adapt it. Also, engage local government bodies such as NGOs, community leaders in planning and responding to coastal risks and their prediction. When you engage these people, they now narrate and also involve the stakeholders in order to create awareness and sensitize the public that there is necessary need for such risk assessment so that they will know the forecast, we know when is to flood, when the sea level have rise, and also necessary measures will be taken. In the picture here, I have I'm doing some community awareness with the farmers that are very close to the coastal region, and also some of the fishermen that are based on fishing, because there is every necessary to know what to catch, not to catch everything that is in the water, because it affects the biosystem of the ocean as well. So that's like, and then we have some of these existing capacity that are around. For example, we have 9 minutes, which their own rules and briefings are to broadcast and weather focus, give a weather warning, early warning system, and 9 minutes is being controlled by the Nigerian Meteorological Association. And they broadcast with the events that will happen. However, these events are most of the time land-based events, and they are limited to land, not to ocean. And also, we have some existing capacities, such as National Council on Climate Change, in which they observe what has been happening using some equipment, some apparatus, such as the rain gauge, the temperature, in order to
Dominic,
broadcast.
can you close the camera? Can you try to close the camera because your voice is a bit fragmented? Yeah, go ahead, please. You have
Very well.
2 minutes more.
Thank you. So it's all right. It's all right. Thank you. And then we have Nigerian Hydrological Services agents, which also give a weather warning, weather forecast based on some parameter as rainfall, maybe the speed of the wind. And however, it's not really focused on the oceanography, where we have a very good predictive model in order to know, to assess the risks and know the scenario in the future. We also have Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, which look at the maritime and safety in the ocean, and then advise people on the need in order to avoid certain calamities such as flood and such as the seed rise. And also we have international climate change development initiatives, which also make a lot of awareness creation, sensitization to the stakeholders. And we have sustainable development goals which they focus on these sustainable goals in order to prove the lives of the people and the stakeholders that live within the coastal region. The organizations listed here provide weather forecasts and atmospheric weather and some coastal specific prediction, although they are not much sophisticated. Is based on the rainfall and is sometimes based on the temperature. So we also have some universities in Nigeria that conduct research trying to bring innovations such as the University of Lagos and also ATBU. Now they are also looking into trying to see how they can incorporate. Thank you very much for the opportunity for this presentation. If any comment, question, contribution is welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Dominic. Thank you very much. And the question, we will do it at the end if you can stay with us. Thank you. So next will be the Cook Island pilot site in presence. Here we are. Marametwa. Thank you.
To do my presentation this afternoon. My name is Mara. I am from the Cook Islands Meteorological Service, and my island was selected as one of the pilot sites. Now, on one of the maps that's been shown a few times earlier, about the 130 pilot sites, my location will be just to the north of New Zealand, and the last drop, I think, at the end is where I come from as part of this pilot project. So it's an honor for me to participate and share our findings. It's a new project because it's just started in late 2024. And we are lucky, we've been fortunate with the South Pacific Commission there, who has been the major sponsor and driver of this particular site. So I'll be brief. There's a few slides here, but I'll just go through what's being carried out at the moment. Under this, what is called the early warning system pillars, this is the four pillars of early warning system. And as you can see, coastal inundation and ocean is a major part of this project. Now, the particular area that's been selected for this study is the main island called Rarotonga, this particular island here. This is the island that's been selected for this particular project, and more so along the northern coast of the islands. Reason being, this is the more developed and the economic area. We have the major ports here, and we also have our airport in this area here. So this whole area is being selected as the case study. And the reason being because it's exposed to the directions of storms moving from east to west. And this is the most exposed area. So this area was selected for that particular reason. And there's been, so this is the actual island itself in 3D using LiDAR to collect the data. And you can see the coastline is very prone to storm surges and coastal inundation. And some studies, this is the science community at the SPC have compiled all this information when they came to do the research. And this is the type of high resolution wave models that they use to produce a product. And this is some, so what's been happening is they've been having a look at their hindsight, hindcasting, because currently we don't have any data collection at the moment. So we've been using historical data to determine moving forward. So this is our severe tropical cyclone seasons in the last 44 years. So this is the most, prone ones during this period. Well, during this period, we had this one here, 1, 2, 3, 4 cyclone in a season. A cyclone season is from November to April of every year. So we had 4 in a row, and out of those 4, 3 were Category 5 storms. So that's what the area, and the town side where I showed you on the map was exposed to those kind of area here, in this area. So this is one of the products that came out of that study. And also this is the other models that they used to try and have a look at the coastal study areas in this. The reason why, as I was saying, because Rarotonga is the main island of 15 other small islands. So in the event, so it's actually our gateway to international. So if this place is affected, either the airport or the ports where I showed earlier, then it's hard to access the international or more so the aid in terms of you had severe tropical cyclone that affected that particular area. And of course, the sea level rise, the main impacts that will affect our area. So this is some of the products that came out of the study by the South Pacific Commission Science Group with assistance of the Met Service, providing tropical cyclone data to generate the report. And again, the blue is showing possibility of coastal flooding all around here. And again, like every other community living along the coast, is the impacts of sea level rise. And this is a classical example of a tropical cyclone we had in 1987, a tropical cyclone Sally. It affected all these blue areas. All these areas were flooded by high seas. And what happened was the storm surge came up at the same time as the astronomical high tides. So that increased the height and coastal flooding around here in this area, affected the whole town, power lines, communities in this area. We talked about vulnerable community, marginalized community. So they were all in this particular area here. From this study, the EMCI, our emergency management, have identified this area of vulnerable and come up with solutions in terms of evacuation centers further inland. Now, this is a model. In the event that we have a worst case, during this tropical cyclone here, the previous one was in 1987. This is the impact. And then the 2005, this is the other impact. It just expanded. So there's a sign with the climate change, the intensity of the storms are getting stronger and producing higher seas and impacting the coastal community. And hazards are involved based on the study. This is what has been studied. So in actual fact, because it's a new pilot site, so a lot of the information is based on historical data. And there is a plan in place to put in some floating buoys so that we can do data collection to advance the study. This is a cluster of so many tropical cyclones in the space of 1979 to 2023. Yeah, I think I will stop there because that is the impact of sea level rise and high seas along our coastal area, and more so in our economic area. So thank you.
Thank you. Very illuminating, enlightening talk. Next will be the pilot site in India by Anwesha. Sure.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. So I'm going to be talking about the Indian Sundarbans, which is on region 14 from the map, if you remember earlier. So for everybody who doesn't know, that's us in red. And our site is located here in the northern Indian Ocean. This essentially is a delta formed by three large rivers. The Ganges, which flows through India. The Brahmaputra, which flows through China and then through India, and then Meghna, which flows through Bangladesh, forming the Sundarbans as a whole. So what we have here is the Royal Bengal tiger, the only tiger that is a swamp tiger. And you can imagine India's vested interest in keeping this alive. It brings a lot of money. So, yeah, a huge predator. We do have a very good tiger project that has managed to save them. We also have another keystone species. It's a breeding ground for the saltwater crocodile. Vicious creatures, as you can see. And it lives in very close quarters to human populations. Oh, that did not play, huh? Okay. Oh, my. Okay. So, the country has a huge coastline, right? So we have all kinds of monitoring in place to make sure that things don't go wrong. But every time that we have a storm coming in, because this is a region which is facing the highest sea level rise, our predictive models or forecasts have to be extremely accurate, because you're telling the government to evacuate as much as 4 million people with every prediction that you make. So if you say there's a storm, imagine the amount of effort and money that the government needs to move people through either tiger-infested lands or crocodile-infested water, so making life very difficult. So we have all kinds of data. We have monthly monitoring insights. So you have rainfall, temperature, salinity, of course. Your PCO2, we have phytoplankton, which is monitored every now and then. And this is done all along the coast for most Indian sites, actually, including the one that we proposed. So what we do essentially is that we have a very bottom-up approach, because a lot of these lands are places that we cannot go, and we don't expect outsiders to come, but these people know the places in and out. So if all of you do the study and you think that Abyssinia is a mangrove which will grow, you'll have local villagers which will tell you exactly where they can grow. So that's how their local knowledge is. So we use local villagers to do plantations, which is one of the ways to stop tidal action in this region. What India has also started doing is mapping the blue carbon above ground, below ground, throughout the ecosystem. We have integrated mangrove aquaculture, where we grow fisheries along with mangrove plants now, essentially using the carbon from the mangrove to grow the fishes. India has also started working with international companies to invest in silver fisheries. Thank you, that's all, but then we have a lot of agencies pitching in.
Okay, then Aletta will present the Philippine pilot site.
Thank you. Okay. Last part. So this you go back to Southeast Asia, and I'll be focusing more on kind of the ocean observation modeling capacities, and so the Philippines. Right. So the Philippines is it's on the. I didn't have like an overall map, but I'm sure you're familiar. That's on the west side of the Pacific, and we have 3 pilot sites, which have a range of resources and activities and challenges. So just to introduce these sites in a more brief manner. So the first site is a Verde Island Passage. It's this area kind of more in the south of the main island, Luzon, to the bounded by this Mindoro Island and a smaller island to the east. And the site is if the Philippines is known as a global center of marine biodiversity, the Verde Island Passage has been identified as the center of marine biodiversity, at least for marine shore fish species. And so this area is a very renowned diving and tourist destination, but it's also an area where there's a lot of shipping and ferries for public transport. So from the main island to the other islands in the area. And of course, it's a very productive fishing ground as well for both commercial and artisanal fisheries. So with that, many concerns and challenges. So there's many different issues in these areas, but I'm just highlighting some of the key ones here. So that also have been identified in engagements with the stakeholders and communities. So one that has been brought up a lot is the diminished fish catch and also unregulated coastal development and eutrophication in some of the more nearby coastal areas, as well as oil spill concerns. So because of a lot of the traffic from the ships, that includes the oil. So there have been oil spill concerns, issues in the past few years, actually. And so that has implications a lot on the tourism and diving areas and the fisheries. Plus, as a rich coral reef area, the coral bleaching, and also if you've seen the crown of thorns here, it's an invertebrate that can have outbreaks. So these have been occurring too in this area. So, and of course, with all of the resource use differences, so there can be a lot of conflicts between the different communities and sectors. The other pilot site is Tayabas Bay. This is an embayment more to the east side of the passage, and this one is more rich, more in terms of mudflats, mangrove areas, seagrass. It also has reefs, but more predominantly more on the mudflats and mangrove areas. And also very productive capture fisheries areas and growing mariculture areas. So in terms of fish farms, shellfish growing. So some more of the concerns in this area have been the deterioration in the water quality. Also invasive species of specifically black mussel that apparently came from the other side of another ocean. And also harmful algal blooms. So, but declines in catch has also been identified as a problem, and again, resource use conflicts and flooding in some of the coastal communities. And then the third one is the Visayan Sea. So this one is on the central island area here. And of course, it's a very large area, but one of the key concerns, there's a large fishing ground, especially for the small pelagics and demersal fisheries. Again, some of those areas are key shellfish farming sites that provide the shellfish for different parts of the Philippines. And still, of course, also tourism and beaches and coral reefs and so on. Some concerns and challenges here are, again, overfishing, also the harmful algal bloom. So here, in those shellfish farming sites where there are the shellfish can be toxic, and so fatality is a potential issue with that. And then coastal development and the resource use conflicts are always there, and the storms. So I mean, so the storms for the Philippines, it's always a problem, whatever area you go to for most part. So because as probably a lot of you know, the Philippines is one of the most vulnerable countries in the world for climate change impacts. And here you see all the typhoon tracks from, I think, about 50 years. You don't really see the country anymore, even though it's pretty big. Last year was pretty record breaking in terms of number of typhoons. So on average, we have 20 typhoons passing us in a year. And so we have increasing stronger typhoons. But last year, there was within less than a month, we had 6 typhoons, which was not good. No. So that's a big problem apart from the typhoons, extreme weather events in general, whether drought or floods, and then of course other sea level rise. That's all concern in the country. And so there's still limited capacity for ocean observation, modeling, and decision support system for all these various risks. Of course, we have a forecasting by our meteorological agency for typhoons, but there's definitely room for improvement, and especially for storm surge concerns or the other climate change impacts, it still needs to be developed. And with the GlobalCoast activity, so we have projects now that are trying to develop these capacities. So one is Sustain, which is being funded also by our Department of Science and Technology. And then my colleagues also have the VISMO, which is focused on the Visciency, and other projects in collaboration with the meteorological agencies and other government agencies that are concerned with these. Just to show you, we've actually started developing the hydrodynamic models using SurfNemo, because before we've used various models, but it hasn't really been sustained, and of course it's been difficult to get the finer resolution models and relocate in all the different sites. So hopefully with SurfNemo, this would be more sustainable in the long term. So we've done some downscaling already for the pilot sites. So this is for the Verde Island Passage, for the Tayabas Bay. Definitely need the higher resolution to figure out the dynamics more in those small embayments where the communities are asking very specific questions, which we cannot answer with the coarser scale ones. This is for the Visciency. So they actually developed the models earlier and are starting to compare more with available data, which is one of the difficult things to obtain. Also just started to explore the biogeochemical model, the BFM, and couple it with NEMO. So we'll to get at the ecosystem model for fisheries applications. And as Francesco already shared with you, we're very excited to have that first COMPAS training in the Philippines, where we've invited the different stakeholders, like the Met Office, the Space Agency, mapping, and other universities to beef up the technical capacities. And we've of course been doing also, of course, the engagement with the communities apart from the agencies involved at those pilot sites, where to have information exchange and for also to empower them to know what is going on and to help contribute in these efforts. So some just general learnings. There's relative ease in setting up the SurfNemo due to the platform, the relocatable platform perspective, and of course, very importantly, the help of Francesco, the developers, and CFCC on this. And the challenge of setting up infrastructure, the data storage is it's a concern. Computation, not so much yet, but yeah, the data storage is a big discussion. The challenge for more data to help in really observation and understanding the basics of the systems that we're looking at, and to help for the model development, of course. So we really need those, I think the low-cost sensors, those observational approaches are critical. And then just thinking of general sustainability and what the point is of these observations and models. So right now we're building up these science and tools, capacities, but how do we really sustain them through the long term, and establish the appropriate practices that within the context where we're in, really need to engage more deeply and with more institutions to increase awareness in the country of the value of observing and modeling, because that's low right now. And so people do not appreciate the need necessarily for these, especially the higher ups. The different perspective when dealing with local governments, like at the small scale in communities, because they have very specific questions which might not be answered with a certain tool that you have. So you need to assess what is really needed on the ground for specific questions. And then lastly, that climate change is still kind of abstract for many people, at least on the more local scale. It's more the immediate concerns, like, oh, we don't have the catch, we don't have the livelihood, and so on. So, but climate change is not necessarily as apparent. So I think that's it. So thank you very much to many collaborators.
Thank you, Aletta. Thank you. So, incredibly, we have time, 20 minutes for discussion, because the presentation are done, over, and maybe Ville, you want to. So, we have done the tour of the world. We have gone around. No, not complete, partial, but still, we have done many kilometers. And
the flavor.
Yeah.
No, are there any questions, not necessarily for a particular site, or thoughts, or comments on what you've heard?
Yeah.
Thank you, Giovanni. I just want to comment on the presentation. I think for the organizers, this is quite an interesting take in terms of maybe learning from good practices and maybe where we want to go. I strongly believe that from the case studies that were presented, there are bits and pieces that we can pick and actually have a very good story maybe in some of the sites that are emerging, and also maybe cross-fertilization in terms of ideas. So I think this should continue. Maybe we should have more of these case studies. I was particularly interested in the Fiji example, and the other one from China on the eco engineering designs. So those are some of the I think platforms that we need maybe to be sharing ideas on, and I think this is a good initiative in terms of sharing the ideas that are coming up.
Thank you. I think, yeah, I mean, we are defining also best practice, really combining the different parts. Jay?
Thank you very much. In listening to all of these, there's a lot of good things happening. They're really very exciting. What I didn't hear was, I have learned this lesson, and by the way, it's applicable to 2 or 3 other sites. And maybe we can begin thinking about, as we're doing our own work, what can be transferred either at a fundamental level or on a specific level.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's the most important part. But on the other side, I saw a lot of commonalities among the pilot sites. So I think there is space for sharing, identifying and sharing best practices. And on the other side, there is also diversity that worried me a bit.
People many times need help to understand what to document and how to explain it. Maybe we can help with that process by the experience we've already had in doing that with the community. It may help.
Yeah, well, I sort of knew that, but this is again a demonstration. So everything that we will do in the next years will depend on having good atmospheric forcing. And this is a key issue that this year we have to get under control, because I don't know how we can still have WMO talking, but not giving access to basic information, even with with dedicated permissions and everything. But also, I wanted to raise awareness on the fact, and the results that Aletta was showing, that they are done with ERA 5, 25-kilometer forcing, nothing. It's 25-kilometer forcing for that region is 0. Okay, doesn't mean anything. So it's really the large-scale ocean, the large-scale atmosphere, whatever. And so we needed to see how to work the contact that I said, but asking for the atmospheric forcing. So we have two alternatives. One alternative is we go to ECMWF and make an agreement that during adaptation fund projects and more, we have access to the real time for a limited amount of time for specific people. Or we go to NOAA, but now I don't think it's anymore the case for NOAA. It was my alternative. NOAA is an issue. And the other one would be also to ask some other regional centers. So we have Japan, we have China, we have Australia, we have, but we need to consider the problem of atmospheric forcing, because our results depend on the quality of atmospheric forcing very much.
Yeah, we can think about having either regional or a big one as MOU signatories as part of the GlobalCoast network. And I think success is more likely on the regional or specific. For instance, NOAA has the National Hurricane Center. I have already mentioned that in the Caribbean Adaptation Fund, because the National Hurricane Center, US national, which is under NOAA, it does not matter. But I mean, still, this has very good relations and connections with all the Caribbean islands, because it's a common threat. I mean, hurricanes will continue, and something will be there. There will be a National Hurricane Center that, if anything stands, that will be it, because otherwise people will revolt. So in terms of agreements, because they have already shared agreements with the Caribbean governments, and they have been doing, I mean, even with Cuba, which, so it's really above any embargoes and any of that. So we could get some guidance from, and then others regional.
Yeah, I agree. And on the other side, we have some meteorological offices in the community here. So we should at least group them together and discuss with them and the board how to progress. Because I agree with Nadia. But we can.
How can I go with that? It's also, I'd like to say another thing that we learned on our way, that meteorology is a sustainability way, because they are somehow responsible for marine weather, which is waves. Okay, so if maybe some surface pressure, okay, if they have the buoys. So that is an important, very important way to sustainability, because the government, if they are involved, will support them to continue to support the observations. That has happened for us. Okay, this is the way we did. And not everything can be done by the oceanographic institutions, but in all what we have seen, the emerging issue that we need to really, and this is why we started to discuss with all the Met offices in the different areas, because we need to have them to ask for the appropriate atmospheric forcing.
Excellent point.
So we
Other points?
just,
Let's
yeah, I'm going.
give you
So we start,
opportunity.
let's say, a working group on these provisional meteorological forcings.
Thank you. I think I was impressed by so many pilot sites across the countries and across oceans. I think I do expect in the future there's some successful examples can sharing for instance, how to build up a really high resolution models and how to develop an observation network in the coast. So people from different pilot sites can learn from this kind of successful example and solve their own problems because they raise their challenges and needs. That's what they want to solve this problem in 5 years. I mean, because ocean decade probably or 6 years left. So we probably expect at the end of the ocean decade, this problem can be solved at least at certain levels. So, but probably because this year still is kind of identification of the needs and the challenge. But in the next 5 years, probably we can start sharing this kind of successful works. But also another part is for the meteorological modeling. Meteorological data. I think not only to resort to the WMO or something. For coastal regions, we probably need WRF modeling for high resolution simulations ourselves coupled to work out the mid-ocean and modeling work. Especially for the typhoons, the high resolution WRF model is very necessary. So when we consider building up coastal models, we probably not only to find the mid-ocean data, but also we need to consider the systematic modeling route. So coupling the wind pressure, and waves and the oceans together, because coast is very complicated, especially for the complicated matrix. Just those two comments. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, Mauro?
Just a quick comment. One thing that we can learn from the site is how to engage with the local stakeholders, because on the long-term run, that's what will keep the observing system, for instance, or the personnel. So it's very important to learn from each other, because sometimes you have the tools, you know how to do that, but there is no one that will support that. So, and that's a learning process and take a long time. So I think we can help each other on that.
Thanks. So I think this is really, really exciting. And as Jay was saying, there's a lot of commonalities between these different pilot sites. And thinking back to kind of the menu of solutions, I like food analogies, but it would behoove us to make that like even simpler. Like that menu of solutions, even for me, I've read it a couple times, it's still a complicated document. And so to kind of build a modular set of, okay, we need a wave model, or we've got a tropical cyclone intensification problem. You know, we need to make really, really clear, here are the building blocks, here are our end goals, and the end goal building block requires this model, requires this observation, so that it's very, very clear and easy to communicate to our national funding infrastructure. Oh, sorry. Maybe you all could hear me at the beginning. But just making it very clear on what the building blocks are to accomplish our needs. And even within this group, I think that would then make it clearer.
I'm not fully sure because it's complex. The observing and modeling needs are very complex. I mean, if you have seen the presentation on the nature-based solution, how to plan nature-based solution, we are at the beginning. We don't really deal with sediment transport, and I mean, if we don't invest, we will not. I mean, we can provide solutions, but then they are not reliable. And some of the coupling, modeling coupling, and artificial intelligence, and even the observing system. If you look to the shopping list that is there, it's quite vast. I mean, we ask for priorities, but it's not easy to simplify. But we can have priorities. We can prioritize. So we can have the minimum standards, which.
So let me just respond, and then I'm going to pass to Alejandro. So I agree. And like we all know, it's really complicated, and the reality is going to be, okay, everything's custom tailored. But I think we've got to take a step. Okay, here's what we're going to do this planning, and then then we customize it. The reality looks a little bit different.
Yeah, I think each side has to prioritize what they want to do first. It's like we had one of the examples of the islands regions where they were really interested in their ocean part. So that's really important for them to have a look at the wave, the erosion, the flooding, which in other parts it might be the kind of a eutrophication problems or harmful algal blooms that you want to start. I don't know. It just depends on what our stakeholders want as well, and how you can do it. So I think we started, when was it? Monday, Tuesday, and Tuesday is like horses for courses. Yeah, it's like let's see what each side has to do. But I think we have to be careful and see there's different problems, and then we have a list of each thing that we need to measure and model for each project.
I have a comment on this. I mean, to Cooper's point, of course, we don't want to make this daunting, so somebody who is really in low capacity gets totally scared off and says, oh my God, it's a mountain, I'll never get there. So I agree with prioritizing, but I'm thinking it in a different way, not prioritizing like minimum requirements in general, but to find a priority that is a problem priority. And for that particular problem priority, you can target to do your best, and you might not do some other things, right?
Nadia?
That's, I totally agree. I probably nobody remembers, but we have a value chain. So the value chain starts from generic products, generic observations, generic products, and we did build that in the past 40 years in the ocean, which is the large-scale flow field, which is the Argo, the satellite, all that. They are sort of useful for everybody. There's nobody can survive without them. Okay, so that's for sure. Now we are going to look at solving a problem, a coastal problem. So we have to start from the problem and then have a phased approach. A phasing, something that will give a first result with a first calibration validation, and then it will go, but it will put the basis for going farther out. So that's the flexibility. We talked about flexibility. We talked about, we have a lot of experience in that. So we can figure out how to make it most flexible, most adaptive to the further needs. But we need at this time, because we are in the coast, to start from the real problems. So if we have a eutrophication, I can tell you, we can survive a lot without doing numerical ocean modeling, but we cannot survive without doing biogeochemistry. So there are ways that you do biogeochemistry without having to do a high-resolution ocean model. There are ways.
So maybe what is missing in the menu of solution is a matrix of problems and
Yeah,
different
but
level
then,
of solutions. I mean, to be built, like what.
Or we will
Billy
do
was
it
saying.
with the projects, right?
Yeah, but maybe
We
we
cannot
can
do an
extract
yeah.
from you.
Maybe.
Online comments, sure, sorry. Can you, Ariba, read it?
So Christina Forbes was saying that these are great and exciting projects from the USCG search and rescue and perspective. She agrees with the need of more observations, including winds and currents and high-resolution models, especially in remote areas or islands. Met ocean data is essential. They're also necessary for validating the ocean met models, and we also need accurate sea surface temperatures for our survivability estimates.
We agree, Christina. Totally agree. And Christina is the U.S. U.S. Coast Guard ocean forecaster. So she's pushing us to do relocatable modeling and provision of this high resolution forecasting. And she's our main supporter together with Edgar, I'd say. So she's one of the supporters.
Thank you, Christina. This is Billy. Sorry you're not here.
We miss you, Christina. Next. Any other comment? Thank you. Any other comment from the room?
You launched the idea to have a subgroup that will look at Met Office. Now, in the menu solution, we already say how we should talk to the Met Offices. We give some indications, and this is why we put it there, because it's crucial. But the working group on meteorological forcing required for this is very important, in my opinion. So I strongly suggest that we have that group and that produces some interesting output. And the other one is the community engagement that was discussed before. And that is also another outcome of being so many places. And so we could have another working group that out of GlobalCoast collects the experience. Instead of always giving indications on how to ameliorate, this time we can take advantage of the present connections with the local community. Also, I want to remind you that we have a very good relationship with Tsunami, the Tsunami Group at UNESCO, and they also have a lot of experience in community engagement. So together with our pilot sites, we get also the Tsunami community, and maybe we can develop a nice background document. Thank you.
Thank you.
The last thing we have is the introduction to the breakout sessions, because tomorrow morning everybody goes directly to a breakout session.
So that's the plan, and now we can close the session. If there is
I don't know.
And,
It says introduction.
No,
I don't
that's
know what the
I talked to
introduction
my
is.
red. So the introduction is that tomorrow we go.
Yeah. Okay.
The breakouts in the morning are on regional groupings. The lists are outside the door, and the idea would be that within the breakouts that there are some comments on the menu of solutions, just in terms of priorities. So if you have a chance to look at that, there'll be some discussion about that, so that we can get a regional perspective based on that document.
And also there are rapporteurs and moderators, but the rapporteurs are particularly important because you will have to report back 10 minutes each. And I will be chairing that one, so you better prepare like 8 minutes, I would say. And, so we are moving along nicely. Thank you, and that's it from me.
No, we go now to CMCC. So we meet downstairs, and the people wants to come, they can come. Yeah, we just